culture of like immediate supply. We want everything to happen like quickly and now today.
And it doesn't work that way. Even with magic, you still would have to give it time, and sometimes you really have to be careful what you ask for. You know, I've had women who their exes have moved on to other women, and you know, they're like, I want her out of the picture and I want him back. Okay, well, what do you want? One of the two. I want him back. The guy comes back, but then the other girl won't leave them alone. Now the other girl is stalking. Now the girl's not leaving their relationship alone. You know, now she took on two people instead of, you know, so you really have to be careful what you wish for.
You really do.
You got your man back, but now you have the crazy other girl on your back.
We've conjured and talked about witchcraft with Zachariah the Witch and his assistant Valentine. We held our Grigri bag close to our hearts as we sat down with the voodoo queen of New Orleans, Bloody Mary, to talk about voodoo. On today's episode of Hollyweird Paranormal, we prepare ourselves for the divine and Olympia as we get Hollyweird and talk about brujeria, witchcraft, with Christy, a local bruja based out of Compton, California, and lead head bruja of Brujas Bontanicas. Let's sit down with Christy and talk about the practice of brujeria, its origins, and how it's evolved, and how to practice it wisely. We also talk about its misconceptions and what it's like to be a bruja in LA, and also the darkness behind it. You definitely don't want to miss out on this interview. So let's prepare ourselves for one big limpia as we get Hollyweird with brujeria and Brujas Bontanicas. And while we prepare, let's leave you with this Mexican traditional folklore song called La Bruja, about a beautiful witch who kidnaps her victims who fall helplessly under her spell. Brujeria, the Spanish language word for witchcraft, is typically used to refer various spiritual practices that have been used by African, Caribbean, and indigenous Latin American populations for centuries. According to an article on Vice.com, the West African Yoruba religion, for example, is estimated by some anthropologists to have been practiced for over thousands and thousands of years. And Santeria, also known as Lucami, is an Afro-Cuban religion that took shape alongside the rise of Spanish colonization and the arrival of Roman Catholicism in Latin America in the 15th and 16th century. Today, brujeria and its accompanying bruja, Spanish for witch, are being taken up not only by a young growing community of men and women, but primarily Latinx women and femmes who want to follow the divine and tap into the mysticism of their heritage. We sit down with one bruja who incorporates the bruja culture not only into her creative pursuits, but also into her community. Let's sit down and let's get Hollyweird with Christy from Brujas Bontanicas.
Hey guys, welcome to Hollyweird Paranormal. We are your hosts, Tammy Merhab Chavez.
And I'm Bryce Mitchell-Williams.
And welcome to our episode where we get Hollyweird with Brujeria and Brujas Bontanicas. We're sitting here with Christy, who is the owner and head BIC, which means head bruja in charge of Brujas Bontanicas, which is a bruja company that sells spells and limpias and potions and stuff to any type of homegirl that wants to get into the practice and get a good limpia, of course. And you're based out of Compton, California. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Hollyweird Paranormal, and tell us a little bit about yourself, Christy, and what you do and what is Brujas Bontanicas.
Thank you for having me. So Brujas Bontanicas is pretty much like a one-stop shop for magical supplies, and the overall message behind Brujas Bontanicas for me was women empowerment.
Oh, nice.
Love that.
So helping other women how to bring magic into their daily lives to create change and bring abundance.
That's awesome.
I love that.
And how long has it been open?
Brujas Bontanicas has been open for about a year now.
Oh, wow.
Strictly online.
That's
Amazing.
awesome. And where can people find Brujas Bontanicas?
They can go to www.brujasbotanica.com or on Instagram at Brujas Bontanicas.
So we are not too familiar with the practice brujeria. But for our listeners, can you explain to them what is brujeria? What is a bruja?
Brujeria is not a religion, but it is more based on family customs and traditions, with a mix of like Christianity, Catholicism, and like shamanism.
And I know there's different, I don't know if there's different forms of brujeria, but I know it's practiced in different Latin countries, not just Mexico, right?
Yeah, it is. But they, as far as Mexico goes, I mean, as far as I know, actually, it's basically all the same, you know, where they incorporate different saints, whether it be patron saints, folk saints. Some work with angels, spirit guides, you know, some even believe in duendes. So it's a mix of a lot of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess you could call it like a sofrito of a lot of things.
Yeah.
So what was like your journey? Obviously, you've been doing this longer than just the year that it's been open. Like, what was your journey into getting to this point? Like, how did you sort of start?
With Brujeria, the interest grew when I was around 15 or 16, seeing my father come back from Mexico with these, you know, spiritual talisman and charms and little trinkets here and there that just kind of piqued my interest. He would never go much into detail, so I think that's where the curiosity began for me as far as working with magic. And I started just diving into books. And talking to the ladies at the local botanicas and just picking up information wherever I could. A lot of it started with like books related to Wicca because there aren't many books out there regarding brujeria. So just as I grew, I kept picking up more and more along the way. I've recently come back to it, so I did take a break from it. There was a lot of backlash from family, from my mother's side of the family, to be specific. Ex-boyfriends who were very Christian and weren't into it. Roommates who were afraid and thought it wasn't, you know, a good idea to be around. So for some time, I did kind of, you know, set it aside a little bit or wasn't as open about it.
Yeah.
Within opening Brujas Bontanicas, I just really at a phase where I'm now coming back to it and trying to gain a lot more knowledge and empower other women, as I mentioned.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Thank
because
you.
I mean, we as beings, we're just afraid of the unknown. And that's how I was with the paranormal. I used to be like a closeted, like kind of like a closeted paranormal goth girl, I guess you can say.
I feel you.
And, you know, I was just slowly coming out of my shell and, you know, just being open about like the, you know, this other world that I believed in or wanted to believe in. And people would always tell me that's stupid, that's fake. But now it's like even starting this podcast with Bryce, it's like that's how I feel empowered with this community and talking to like-minded individuals like you and in your practice and
Absolutely.
learning about it too.
Absolutely. It wasn't easy. I mean, I was the butt of every joke at
No.
at the carne asada on weekends with your uncles chiming in and laughing. Yeah, it wasn't fun growing up, trying to pursue it. It was not easy. But now at this age that I'm, now 34 and I'm a mom
Yeah.
and I just really want to give back and I just really want to teach other women and, kind of share my experience.
I just got goosebumps.
I know. What's
It's
so
just so
crazy? Like
empowering.
people's fear so often comes from like ignorance.
Yes.
So even like your family, it's like, right, but this is our shared history, our shared culture. Like, why are you fighting me on this? It's just like ignorance.
Well, in Mexico, they're usually like, there's either the people that are like hardcore believers or the ones who just think it's a joke.
Yeah.
Some people do take it very seriously. Others are just like, oh, you say the word brujeria and they'll laugh in your face and say you're ridiculous.
You're gonna get possessed.
¿Tú crees en eso? Like, to them,
Yeah.
it's like they really don't get it.
We could go into this question, like, what are the misconceptions about it? Because from my research, like, they're portrayed as malevolent mistresses that bring affliction and misfortune. And then the song that I'm going to insert, eventually into this this episode, which I did use to promote our episode, which was La Bruja, which is the Mexican folkloric song about a woman that flies at 2 a.m. She's beautiful, but she's out to get her victims and suck their blood. So now she's portrayed as this vampire.
Please stop reading my Tinder profile out
I like
loud.
your
Thank
You're
style.
welcome. I was just Control Alt Paste.
Yeah. Out to get my victims at 2 a.m. What's up?
I know, flying on your broom, drinking your Starbucks, girl.
You know what's
right?
up.
I know, right? That is a bruja right there.
Yeah, it is. You know what's up.
You're the bruja of Starbucks.
I really am.
Starbucks.
And they can't get rid of me.
There you have it. But yeah, I guess there are those misconceptions, but back then there were healers.
Yeah.
There were women who healed, and then I guess the Catholic colonizers came in and they were trying to convert them. I think that's right. Like they tried to convert them, and they're like, no, we're good.
So then, of course, because they don't understand it, they, demonize it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are people in Brujeria who do work with Satan and demons, and there is a very dark side to it. I mean, where my father's from in Veracruz, Catemaco.
Catemaco, is that the city of the Brujos, right?
Yeah.
Girl, that's where you should go and put up your Tinder profile
Oh,
right
God.
there.
I don't know if they're ready for that.
So, there's a lot of worshiping of Satan out there in this particular forest that people go
my
out to
God.
leave their trabajos. And it's a huge forest filled with all kinds of, magical work left all over it. Particularly in this certain cave.
Oh my God.
And you walk in and there's candles everywhere lit with people's pictures and articles of, hair, clothing, blood.
Bryce's ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's real intense.
Why do you think it has focused around that particular forest, that particular cave?
I'm not sure,
Wow.
just based on the energy that's there.
Wow.
I have seen some documentaries where people have gone and have experienced some really bad things. I mean, passing out while in the forest.
Yeah.
Having streaks of bad luck after leaving it. So I know it's some heavy stuff. I'm planning on going to Veracruz this year, but I do not think I will be making it there.
I'm not going to be making a detour to Catemaco.
I probably will go to Catamacos because there are brujos there. There are healers there, but I will not be venturing into that forest.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I think that's where a lot of people get that in their head, that they worship Satan, that they worship the dark side, that it's something very evil, when really it's really not.
No, most people are very involved in, in their religion. You'll have a lot of people that practice brujeria, doing their trabajos for the community throughout the week, and then they'll take Sundays off and go to church.
Now, how does brujeria in Mexico, in your opinion, how does it differ from, say, brujeria in El Salvador or Spain or even Honduras, for that matter?
I really couldn't say. I don't know too much about how it's practiced in those regions, unfortunately.
I don't know if it's like this in Mexico, but every time I would, try to ask, my relatives, well, how is brujeria practiced in Honduras? They're like, oh, you don't set foot unless you want a lover, unless you want a man to leave his wife. That's when you call upon it. That there's this high increase or this surge of women using brujeria to get men to leave their wives or their girlfriends, and it's like they need it just to get that love from these men, which is really, really, really crazy yet interesting. So I wasn't sure if like in Mexico that's the same way of how they use it, but it is.
I think a lot of people are more into it than they admit to it. Like it's not something you speak about openly. Mm-hmm. So more than likely it's your tias and your primas that are going to them, but they won't admit it.
Yeah.
It's very hush.
Now, I know that there is a lineage with brujeria. Every time I've gotten to know individuals who practice it, it's always passed down from a family member, from an abuela or a tia or a nana. Is that, was that in your position as well? Or
that wasn't exactly my case because of my aunts on my father's side being in Mexico, so I didn't have as much access to them. And I think that's the current case right now, where a lot of people are wanting to connect back to their lineage or brujeria or their roots. Wow. And it's not as easy because we don't have access to those elders. And there aren't as many people out here that are willing to teach, as far as like maestros, or for some people padrinos, padrinas.
Yeah.
There's a lack of people passing it down. So it's a lot harder to start incorporating and learning.
What was your most positive experience and your most scariest experience with your journey into brujeria?
I think for me the most positive was overcoming my depression. It was through prayer and spell work and just being consistent that I was able to overcome years of depression.
Wow.
Years. I'm talking like 8 years of it.
Oh my gosh.
So, with a child. So it wasn't easy. So that was the most positive outcome of it for me. And just learning how to use that magic, daily to create a better life for myself. The worst was when I was around 21 and I encountered a brujo who was from Mexico. We spoke a different dialect, so it was kind of hard to understand him. His girlfriend actually had to translate. But he did a palm reading, and he touched my hands, and he transferred some sort of negative energy.
Oh my gosh. Just like that. Just.
It was I had met him prior, but the reading was only done once, and after that I had a very dark spirit following me for a little over 3 months.
Oh my God. Is that something that you think he did intentionally, or he just didn't realize it was connected?
I don't think he realized. I know it was my mistake. I was really young, but I knew that he was involved with dark magic because when I had first met him, I had accompanied a coworker who was getting some magical work done by him. Then she needed somebody to go with her. So I said, fine, I'll go on. So we end up at this guy's house, and she, before we walk in, she says, whatever you do, don't look him in the eye. And it was like here in downtown LA somewhere.
I mean, in fairness, I don't look anyone in the eye.
No one does. And if you do, then you're weird.
You're in trouble, yeah. Damn.
So she goes, don't look him in the eye because he's going to completely read you. And I'm like, okay, I won't look him in the eye. So I get in the room, he says, hi, whatever. We get into his room where he has all his trabajos and everything going. And it's just a floor filled, like a big floor, wooden floor, like it is here, full of just like black candles primarily all over the place.
That's a fire hazard, sir.
With like just everything going on, right? And I'm like, instantly, I feel the negative energy, and it feels like something's, you feel that pressure on your chest, like you can't breathe. It just feels heavy, and it becomes a little overwhelming.
Usually, black candles are a source of protection. They're used for protection and to shield hexes,
banishment.
Yeah. Oh,
so he was definitely doing black magic. And when it came time to leave, he said bye, and I looked up and that was it. The guy just started going off about things going on in my life. And then, so that's when he said, if you want to do a palm reading, come back and see me. And that's what I did. And then I couldn't get rid of this dark spirit for 4 months.
Oh my God. Just that fast.
Was it something that you had to do, like any sort of spell work in order to break away from the spirit, from it to repel itself against, like, away from you? Or was it just something that it just like lasted for 4 months and then went away?
No, it was a lot of prayer, a lot of lighting candles, a lot of just yelling at the spirit,
Yeah.
like, get out, stop, get out.
Oh,
What
and
would
you're
it
so
do?
young too.
It would move everything in the house. I'd be home
no.
alone and I would hear all the things in the kitchen cabinets moving. I would see him in my room at night.
No.
He would lay next to me, on top of me. I
Oh my
would
God.
see him in the backseat of my car.
What would he look like?
You just look like a middle-aged man.
Oof, don't they always though?
I know,
Right.
seriously.
That's so pervasive and like disruptive.
It was very traumatic because as I started to share with my family about what I was experiencing, that's when, the jokes would come.
Oh my God, at like this super traumatic time in your life.
So it's like nobody believed me.
No one
believed you.
So it was really sad because I could feel his presence around me at all times, and I would see him in the corner of the room.
Oh no.
And everybody was like, "You're crazy. This one sees spirits,
Oh my
supposedly."
God.
Of course, they gotta mock you. They gotta mock you.
Thanks,
Well, that's
ma'am.
what I mean.
Yeah. They're like, she just has bad taste in men. No.
It's an ex coming back to haunt me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
Oh God.
Oh my goodness. So you did the prayer work. You were able to get rid of him, and then what happened afterwards? Everything was just like, everything was quiet. It ceased.
Yeah,
That's
it
good.
was, and it has been since. So,
Oh, thank goodness.
so I don't go walking into strangers' botanicas anymore, shaking hands and stuff, because that energy definitely does transfer and it does linger.
Is that mostly through like physical? Because you had said like when he made eye contact, he also was reading you. Like, is it more physical touch based?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh my God, no.
Well, luckily I hate touching everyone,
There
so
you go.
that's good for me.
Wear gloves.
Oh God.
Okay. In your opinion, how has Brujeria evolved?
I think it has evolved to a point where people aren't as scared to talk about it. People are really embracing it. They're turning into this whole powerful movement. It's not like before where you didn't tell people about it.
Wow.
And if you did, people really got on your back about it. I mean, even now, with all these wonderful, amazing brujas coming up on social media and everything and sharing their journeys and their experiences, you still get a lot of the elders who are like, what are you guys doing?
Wow.
That's not okay.
Really?
There's certain things that shouldn't be talked about. There's certain things that aren't okay. It's evolving, and some people are just not okay with it.
Wow. It's still like very hush hush. It's still very taboo. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But back then you didn't broadcast it to the whole world.
No.
There would be a lot of repercussions for doing that.
Have you educated young brujas, or have you taken upon yourself to educate, certain individuals?
I have here and there clients that have reached out or people that want to do consultations one-on-one. With Brujas Bontanicas, I'm really focused on bringing workshops to Compton specifically, to the community. So that's the ultimate goal with Brujas Bontanicas, to eventually set up a brick and mortar where I can bring in other spiritualists to educate the public. It's not something we have in Compton.
That was going to be my next question. What is it like being a bruja in Compton? Compton doesn't have a good rap.
I mean, that's totally true.
Yeah.
I get that. But I grew up there, and, most of my experiences are good. I didn't encounter that troublesome side besides, like, witnessing the riots and a couple other things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I think there's a lot of new people that are trying to bring good things to Compton, especially in the Latin community. You have like Patria Coffee that opened up this coffee shop. We have Compton Health Bar that's bringing like herbal remedies to the community. You even have the Compton Cowboys out there right now that are really doing things for the youth.
I love
Oh,
that.
I did not know that. That's
I think
awesome.
I feel like Compton really is kind of going through like a light renaissance right now of like
Yeah, absolutely.
the artistry that's coming from there and the culture that's being revitalized there.
I
is
feel
really,
like everywhere, like
Yeah.
Inglewood. I mean, it's just everywhere.
It's nice.
So I definitely want to be a part of that and give back to the community.
I love that.
That's awesome. Are you doing your trabajos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And just bringing in other things for people that aren't as open to it, like sound baths and other cool stuff. Just workshops on how to work with candles. Nothing too intense because some people are intimidated by it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to make it something that's, has a variety of things, which is why I would like to bring in other female spiritual workers so they can incorporate, their gifts as well
That's
into
amazing.
That's
What do you
awesome.
find that most people who are coming to you are searching for?
Yeah.
it. Love.
Yeah.
Love
kind
is
of
the number
mentioned that
one.
too.
Yeah, we had an interview with Zachariah the Witch, and even like other workshops that I've taken with the history of witchcraft and spell work, there would be these random women that would come in, and the only thing they want to know is they need to cast a spell for love.
I mean,
Has no one read Harry Potter?
Yeah,
Like, this is a
seriously.
terrible idea. This is how you get Voldemort. Please stop doing that. No. Let love alone.
And look at how much of a bitch that was to get rid of him.
It took 8 books.
I know, it took 8 books. That was like 8 years of my life trying to get rid of my first love of my life.
Girl,
like,
I feel.
Oh, yeah.
and is it both men and women that come to you, or just women in
It's
general?
more women. Mm-hmm.
And what is it like with love that they're looking for? It's obviously not to love themselves, but they want to find their next boyfriend or their next husband, huh?
It's usually to bring an ex-lover back. Majority of the time, it's to bring a lover back.
Wow.
It's tough.
What is your like path of guidance when that happens? Because like that can go so many ways. Like if they're bringing toxic energy back into their life, do you kind of just carte blanche and like here's what you're looking for, or do you like case by case it?
I try to go case by case,
Yeah.
but I usually open up with maybe them focusing more on a self-love ritual, because I think that's a good place to start, but they never want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, no, I just want my man back.
Wow.
I mean, it's like what Zachariah said too. We are in a culture of like immediate supply. We want everything to happen like quickly and now today.
And it doesn't work that way. Even with magic, you still would have to give it time, and sometimes you really have to be careful what you ask for. I've had women who their exes have moved on to other women, and they're like, I want her out of the picture and I want him back. Okay, well, what do you want? One of the two. I want him back. The guy comes back, but then the other girl won't leave them alone. Now the other girl is stalking. Now the girl's not leaving their relationship alone. Now she took on 2 people instead of, so you really have to be careful what you wish
You
for.
really do.
You
Oh
got
my
your man back,
gosh.
but now you have the crazy other girl on your back.
Now you guys are listening and learning. Watch what you wish for, because this is what happens.
You really do.
I mean, that's what I was taught too in our workshop. That love is one of the most dangerous
It is.
things to practice, and
It
to cast a
really
spell on,
is.
yeah.
That's why I try to get them to focus on self-love and bringing other things into their lives besides just focusing on a certain individual.
my goodness, oh my god.
And I feel like everything comes at a cost. Like you can get what you want, but like what are you willing to pay to have that happen?
Absolutely. It's all a sacrifice. Nothing is free. It's all an exchange.
Have you had any clients that came back to you and asked to reverse it?
No, hasn't happened so
Oh
far.
goodness, has it gone? I was wondering if it's gone to that point. Like I want to take my wish back. Can I have a refund? No, it doesn't work like that. Sorry, the universe does not do like backsies. Sorry, we don't do that.
I mean, I let them know before they jump into it, but usually they're just so caught up at that point that they're just like, I mean, I've had people tell me, I'll pay you anything just
No
to get
way.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
Anything, and it just doesn't feel right. Like no I can't do that. No.
What are the ages that we're talking about? Are they very young or?
Most of my clientele is anywhere from like 25 to like 40.
Oh wow! I had a teacher in school at the school that Tammy still works at, and that I used to work at and went to. And one of our very first classes, and it stuck with me because it was so powerful to hear this like older person saying this. But he was like, "There's something about love, and it doesn't matter if you're 24 or 44 or 84, but like that heartbreak will bring you back to your most like youngest vulnerable self." And I remember like one of my roommate actually, but my classmate at the time, she had like performed her piece and was like crying, and he was like quite stern. It was I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Editing. And he was quite stern, and he was like, "Are you crying because like I'm being hard on you?" And she's like, "No, I'm crying because it's like bringing up issues with like the person that I just broke up with." And that's when he said that, and it like really stuck with me. So it's like interesting to hear you say like this wide age range, because it really doesn't matter,
Right.
like if you've got like all your other shit figured out and you don't have like the love you want, you're still that like 14-year-old girl with like writing Mrs. John Stamos on your
Absolutely.
Trapper Keeper.
Yes.
Like, it just reverts you right back.
Because these are like really successful women. And,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm
Wow.
taken aback. Like,
You're like,
you're
"What?"
so beautiful. You're so successful. What is it with you and this fuckboy? Like,
Yeah,
sorry to
though.
say it like that, but
Fall for the wrong ones, I tell you.
I've been there. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah,
and
me
it's,
too.
and it's totally okay. But it's really hard listening to them have to deal with this like suffering when you're like, just love yourself. I just want to go through the phone and like give you a hug.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be okay. It is not the end of the world. You're going to make it.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, just take all my money. I'm
Like,
like,
all right.
no.
Yeah.
Hit me up on Venmo.
Do
it's
you
fine.
have to have you turned people away? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And it's mostly related to love matters.
Oh my gosh. What was the worst one that you've had that you had to turn away?
The one I just mentioned.
Oh, really?
Where she was like, I'll give you any amount of money that you want. And it's like, that's a lot of pressure. I mean,
No.
that's a lot, because when people are willing to sacrifice that much, they expect a return immediately. And it does not work that way. I've even done, in the past when I was a lot younger, love spells for myself that took a year, some up to 3 years to manifest.
Of like continual practice, or just like leaving it and like letting
Continual.
it. Wow.
So, I mean, it all takes time. And I think people think, the more I pay you, can you get them here tomorrow?
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way.
That's what I hear a lot of practicing witches say. They're like, you have to meditate on it. It doesn't happen overnight, and people get so upset.
Yeah.
Well, we have Amazon. You know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean?
mean,
It's
yeah,
like,
I can
but
prime
I can
it.
get 2-day shipping. No,
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't. No,
it's
no.
not what this
But
is.
it's a lot more than just burning
Yeah.
one candle and being like, okay, where is he? It's
Yeah.
dinner time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm hungry. It's dinner time.
I know.
like, it doesn't work that way. So I do. When it comes to people that I feel like are that desperate about it, like it just feels a little overwhelming. Like, no, because I know that that's going to bring on a lot of energy from both ends. And these are people that are not willing to be patient, that are not willing to continue working on it to manifest this.
Before we bring this to a close, what messages do you have for individuals that are seeking your services in terms of love or anything else for that matter? Like, what do they need to know before walking into this practice?
Just to come with an open mind and an open heart and patience and sincerity.
Wow.
That's really what's most valuable when it comes to practicing brujeria, is to come with sincerity and honesty and a good heart. Because the spirits can tell when you're lying.
Which leads me to my final question. What messages do you have for individuals that are just stepping into this practice? Now it's like brujeria and bruja is now a buzzword. It's such a social media thing now. Like, people can dress up to look like a bruja just for the clout, but they really don't understand like the lineage of it, the history of it.
So the advice that I would have for them is definitely do your research. Talk to your family, talk to your elders, set up an ancestor altar, connect with your ancestors. They will be able to answer a lot of things for you. And don't fall for any, as they call them, insta-witch. you can cause yourself a lot of harm by getting involved with the wrong person when it comes to spirituality. Mm-hmm. A lot of harm. So just use your best judgment. Don't just fall for anybody who looks pretty online and, has their makeup done and plays with crystals. Like, you need to do your research. You really, really, really do. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to connect with people. A lot of people do frown upon asking questions, but I mean, that's the only way you're going to learn. And not one person knows it all. So ask around, make friends, find a community.
That's good. That's awesome. Are there any websites or anywhere else where they could find those types of communities? Can they reach out and contact you?
They can contact me, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Christy, for
Yes.
sitting down with us. I know it was a short time, but just to let you guys know, it is Christy's birthday.
Yeah.
So happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Yes.
We wish you nothing but light and love, Christy. Thank you so much for sitting down, coming down to downtown with us, and talking about brujeria. We wish you all the luck in your business successes and your endeavors, of course. And once again, do your plug-in. Where can people find you on social media?
They can find me at www.brujasbotanica.com and on Instagram at Brujas Botanica.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christy.
Thanks, guys.
We have a couple of thank yous and shout outs in place. A big thank you to Christian over at Pierce Space for helping us coordinate the space in downtown. Also, a big thank you once again to Christy for sitting down with us. Be sure to check her out and follow her on Brujas Botanica on Instagram and www.brujasbotanica.com. Also, a big shout out and a major thank you to our new Patreon members. A big thank you to Ishel, Michael Roybal, Stacy Beatty, Andrea Strode, Lori Fluke, Erica Shawn. Thank you guys so much for supporting our podcast and becoming Patreon members. It means the world to us. Be sure to keep an eye out in the mail for your Hollyweird goodies. Speaking of patrons, guys, if you want to be a Hollyweird Patreon, then head on over to www.patreon.com/HollyWeirdParanormal. For as little as $1 or more a month, or just for 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, you can help support and produce Hollyweird Paranormal. This episode, for example, was actually made possible by the donations and support by our Hollyweird patrons. So in other words, you guys help support us by transporting us to downtown, paying for our parking, and actually renting the space that we conducted this interview with Christy. And of course, feeding our iced coffee addiction. Bryce loves you a latte. So thank you guys so much for helping us produce this episode. Aside from helping us produce these episodes, you'll enjoy a few of these special perks. Once you sign up, you'll be given a nice little goodie bag in the mail filled with Hollyweird goodies, and you'll be automatically inducted into our secret podcast society, the Saturday Night Ghost Club. The Saturday Night Ghost Club is our secret podcast society that is a bi-weekly podcast where I go out and record real ghost stories from actual people on the street or acquaintances. And trust me, there are people out there with some crazy and creepy ghost stories. You can preview episodes of Saturday Night Ghost Club and get caught up with our current and past episodes if you head on over to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Blueberry.net, Stitcher, Castbox, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcast fix. If you can't get enough of Hollyweird Paranormal, then please stalk us on Instagram and Facebook at Hollyweird Paranormal and Twitter at HWP Podcasts. If you have a story for our Listener's Tales episode, or you want to send us a little hello, then you can definitely email us at hollyweirdparanormal@gmail.com. And if you have a little extra time or you want to be a little extra, you can head on over to Apple Podcasts where you can subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. It really helps us indie podcasters out, helps us become a little more visible. Well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. And until next time, friends, always remember, stay Hollyweird.